Okay, good morning, everyone. Welcome to our yoga class. Here's our setup with all my props that I love to use. As you know, I'm Micki, and we're going to do a gentle class with a theme from the book The Yamas and Niyamas by Deborah Adele. So this is the book that I love to use for this class, and we're on the third yama, and I'll talk about that in just a moment, but let's get set up. You can either come to sitting if that feels comfortable, or my preferred way is to just come down onto the ground and lie on the back. So we call this constructive rest pose. So you can bend the knees so that your whole entire sacrum, hopefully that's your lower back, is resting on the mat. And this can make for like wider contact. It can be a little gentler on the low back. You can walk the feet as wide as you'd like. Bring the knees to tent in together. And then maybe you rest your hands on your belly with your elbows resting on the ground. And just allow yourself to take some nice deep breaths, maybe breathing in through the nose. If you'd like, you can take some nice audible sighs out through the mouth. Really allowing yourself to feel the support of the earth. You might picture almost like the earth has a palm of its hand is resting right along your back, pressing up against you, allowing you to relax fully into the earth. Maybe taking a moment to close down the eyes or soften the gaze, letting go of tension that might be living in the forehead. Take a moment to bring your awareness into the hinge of your jaw. See if you can ask yourself to soften there. Allow the shoulders to melt heavy onto the earth. So again, leaning into the support. Feel the strong, steady earth making contact with the back of your body. And see how you can let go, melting into this present moment, relaxing any thoughts of the past, allowing your plans for the future to wait, coming into this present moment with gratitude. Take a few nice deep breaths like this. And then we'll bring our awareness into our heart center and see if there is an intention for your practice there today. Something you would like to cultivate or release. And then I will offer the suggestion of the third yama, and we call the yamas the restraints. So this is nonviolence, truthfulness, non-stealing, non-excess, and non-possessiveness. And these five yamas are basically yoga's instructions on how we can ethically practice with the outside world. And so the third one is called Asteya, and this means non-stealing. And I've just picked a short passage that we might focus on for this class. On page 66, she says, in all the ways that we impose an outside image of ourselves onto ourselves, we are stealing from the unfolding of our own uniqueness. All demands and expectations that we place on ourselves steal from our own enthusiasm all self-sabotage, lack of belief in ourselves, low self-esteem, judgments, criticisms, and demand for perfections are forms of self-abuse in which we destroy the very essence of our vitality. All the ways we live in the past or future steal from ourselves. All the ways we put up fences, whether real or imagined, around our physical belongings or our mental idealisms. We put barriers that steal from the full expansion of our lives. We are captured in a culture where our very identity is tied up in our accomplishments. We wear all we have to do like a badge on our shirt for all to see. In this rush to get to the next thing, we have left no time for ourselves to digest and assimilate our lives. This may be our biggest theft of all. We need time to catch up with ourselves. We need time to chew and ponder and allow the experiences of life to integrate within us. We need time to rest and to reflect and to contemplate. Maybe you allow yourself this time this morning or whenever you're practicing to just fully let go all those demands, those expectations. Give yourself this time to practice your own unique time to experience your body, allowing for rest, contemplation, non-judgment. From this place on your back, from constructive rest pose, you can walk your feet as wide as your mat if they're not there already, and then just begin to gently sway the knees from side to side, inviting in a little bit of movement, a gentle rocking from side to side, soothing your nervous system with breath and with gentle movement. Maybe you can feel that gentle massage along your low back, your sacrum. And then we'll start to invite the neck and spine to join in. So you can start to gently shake your head from side to side in the opposite direction as your knees. And as you breathe up and down the length of your spine, you might feel this gentle no, shaking the head no. Maybe you can imagine yourself letting go of those expectations, those judgments or criticisms, anything that no longer serves you. Just practice softly, gracefully saying no. Remembering that it is all a practice. Letting go of perfectionism. What do we want to replace it with? And we'll come back to center, and then you can stretch your arms out into a letter T. Open the webs of your fingers wide, and then we'll float the hands up towards the sky, cross the right arm over the top of the left. Give yourself a nice big hug. Once more, you might rock a little bit side to side. Feel the open expansiveness at the back of your heart. Thinking about replacing those criticisms with compassion, kindness, generosity. Imagine just like growing a garden, maybe of flowers. Whatever you'd like to cultivate is blooming along the spine. And then we'll come back to center. You can stretch your arms out beside you, opening your arms into a letter T. Feel the expansiveness of your heart. And then imagine what it would look like for gratitude to begin to overflow from the heart center. Think of somebody you feel grateful for, someone who has touched your life along your journey. And then we'll imagine giving them a nice big hug, wrapping the hands up towards the sky, bringing the left arm over the top of the right this time, and then gently rocking from side to side, allowing the back of the heart center to receive the gentle massage of the earth. Breathing into the back body. And then when you feel ready, send that squeeze. As you come back to center, you can send that little bit of joy, that spark of love out to the person that you brought to mind. Squeeze yourself, squeeze them, and then release. And then we'll roll onto either one side, press up to a seat, or you could hug your knees in towards your chest. Maybe it would feel good to rock and roll up and down the length of your spine a few times. When you're ready, we'll come up into a seat, and you can feel free to find yourself on a chair, or you might take a cushion or a blanket and fold the blanket to make a little seat cushion for yourself. And this could be helpful to help lift the hips. And then we're going to stretch the right leg out, bring the left foot to the inner thigh. And if you're sitting on a chair, you can always just modify this by just keeping both feet on the ground. We're going to take a little bit of a turn, and I'm going to grab both of my blocks to frame my right foot. So start to turn the body, turn the belly maybe even over towards the right leg. Inhale to lengthen through the spine. You could lift your arms up towards the sky as you lengthen and turn, and then we'll fold over that right leg. So you can frame your hands onto the blocks. You could reach for your foot. You can bring the blocks really on any setting that works for you. And if you're doing this from a chair, just go ahead and lean over towards your right side. Allow your spine to lengthen, and your heart to maybe melt down towards your knee. On each inhale, feel free to bellow up a little taller, and then maybe exhale, bend a little more deeply. Finding just a little bit of movement here as you inhale to lengthen, exhale to release. Maybe you can send your gaze down towards your toes. Sending your toes gratitude for all the places they've helped take you. The next time you inhale, we'll rise up to center. This time you might float your arms up towards the sky. We can bring the right hand now on the inseam of the right leg, and then start to find a side bend. Maybe bending over any amount. You could move your block to maybe the high setting, lean your elbow onto the block to create a little bit of support. Maybe lean your head onto your fist. And you can either keep lifting from the fingertips down to the hip, or from the hip up to the fingertips, Or maybe you find a little bit of movement here. You might draw a nice big circle with the left hand. And maybe you follow the fingertips with your gaze. Go ahead and take one more nice deep breath. We'll reach the fingertips back up towards the sky. And then on your next exhale, you can rise to center. We're going to find a twist now. So we'll inhale to reach the arms up towards the sky. You can bring the hands down to the heart center and start to float the torso over towards the left knee. You could release the hands, press the right palm into the right thigh. You could even reach your left hand around behind you and maybe you bring a block with you to help elevate that hand. Maybe you can peek your gaze over your left shoulder. Feel free to cross your right hand over towards your left knee if it reaches, if that feels supportive for your leverage, but you can also just bring a block to hold on to as well. With each inhale, imagine your spine can grow taller, the crown of your head radiating up towards the sky. And with each exhale, finding just a millimeter more space in your twist. And then with your next exhale, go ahead and bow your head towards your heart. You can imagine your chin is tracing a semicircle above your chest. And then we'll turn just the gaze towards your right toes. Maybe go ahead and give your toes a little wave, wiggling the toes. Take one more nice deep breath here. And then we'll unwind from the twist, coming back to center. You can reach both your hands onto your blocks, maybe back. Bend the knees and just windshield wiper the knees a little bit side to side. For a moment, you might feel a bit of asymmetry in your body as we've just done everything onto one side. And now we're going to get ready for the other side. So stretching the left leg long, you can bring the right foot to the inseam, the left leg, frame the foot with your blocks or frame the leg with your blocks. We'll inhale to float the arms up towards the sky and then turn to face your left leg. Exhale, you can bring your hands down in front onto the blocks. Reach for your toes or just land them on your leg anywhere that feels comfortable. As you inhale, lengthen through the spine. As you exhale, you can fold over that leg. And you might allow this to be either a very subtle, soft movement of your breath, or maybe you make it a little bit larger, inhaling to grow taller and longer, exhaling to melt the heart forward. Can you imagine what it would look like for your heart center to overflow with gratitude for the left foot now? Allow yourself to relax in stillness. And then on your next inhale breath, let's grow taller to come back to center. Inhale to sweep the arms up towards the sky. And then on the next exhale, you can land the left hand on the inseam of the left leg. Start to glide it down the leg as you reach the right hand up and over. Finding whatever kind of supports would be useful. Maybe you bring your elbow onto a block. You could stay here growing long from the hip to the fingertips, Or maybe you find a little bit of movement, painting beautiful circles with the fingertips, using your creative imagination to draw circles, maybe following the fingertips with your gaze to allow a little rotation for the neck. Take one more nice deep breath like this. And the next time your hand reaches up towards the sky, we'll inhale to lift up through center, and then exhale, bring the hands to the heart center. We're going to find that twist to the right. So you can either twist to the right with your hands here. You could press into the inseam of your leg, maybe bring a block behind you, turning the gaze over your right shoulder. Or maybe you can reach your left hand all the way to your right knee for some leverage. With each inhale, see if you can grow the spine longer. Each exhale, allowing yourself to find just a millimeter more of space in your twist. Breathing into any areas of sensation in the body. Then on your next exhale, go ahead and bow your head towards your heart. Allow your chin to trace a semicircle above your chest as you just turn the gaze over towards the left toes, still remaining in your twist. Take one more nice deep breath here. On your next exhale, go ahead and unwind your twist. And you can stretch your legs out in front, maybe give them a little wibble wobble. You might use your hands to just soothe down the legs. And then it's your option if you want to stay seated for cat-cow. We'll do some flexion and extension of the spine. So you could stay in a cross-legged seat right here. Inhale to lift the heart forward. Exhale to round the spine back. Of course, you can do this seated on a chair if you'd like. Or if you feel comfortable, you might come onto hands and knees. Sometimes when I come onto hands and knees, I like to use the blanket to pad underneath the knees. So you could just unfold the blanket, create a little pad for the knees. You might even bring the forearms onto blocks. And then if you don't want to be on hands and knees or seated, another option might be to come to standing and use your hands onto the seat of a chair. And you could do like a stilted tabletop, inhaling and exhaling here to find cat and cow, dropping the belly, lifting the heart, exhaling to round into the spine. Feel free at any time to start to draw a big circle with the belly button, bending into all the different directions the spine can move. And for many of us right now, it is approaching Halloween season. You might just take a moment to reflect on the intricate design of your spine, practicing awe and wonder. When you feel ready, go ahead and reverse the direction of these spinal rolls. And then when you feel complete from left to right, we're all going to meet up in a forward fold. So you can walk your feet to your hands. Maybe you come through a downward dog, or if you're standing already, feel free to make your feet a little bit wider to make room for your belly. You can find a soft bend in the knees and maybe wrap your hands around your opposite elbows and just take a moment to ragdoll here. Once more, you might shake your head no or nod your head yes, thinking about practicing what you'd like to let go of, and then also what you might like to invite in. And then we'll come back to stillness. Release your hands either down to blocks or maybe onto the seat of that chair. We'll inhale to lengthen the spine, lifting up halfway. Exhale to forward fold. Inhale, we call this Ardha Uttanasana, halfway lift, lengthening the spine. You might find a little tone in your belly, drawing your belly button up towards your spine. And then exhale to soften and fold. Go ahead and find one more, just like that. And then we're going to find a soft bend to the knees. Press into your feet to lift your heart up towards the sky. We'll come to stand, lifting the arms up towards the sky. And then exhale, bring the palms to touch and draw the hands to the heart center. Let's do that 2 more times. Inhale, circle, sweep the arms up towards the sky. Maybe look up, lift the heart. Exhale, join the hands together, draw them into the heart center. And one more time like this. Take a moment to close down the eyes or soften the gaze, and then you can release the hands to rest on your heart. See if you can listen for the sound and the rhythm of your own unique heartbeat. Just notice how similar and yet different and unique that one is to you. Finding gratitude for your own heart. And then we'll blink the eyes open. I'm going to clear some of the props off of my mat, and we're going to get ready for a warrior 2 position. So I'm going to bring the blocks and or chair in for support for warrior 2. So I'm going to just bring the chair to the long edge of my mat. If you're doing this without the chair, you could step your right foot forward, step your left foot back, begin to find a bend in the knee. So I'm kind of using that bend in the knee to work my foot forward any amount. If you want to use the support of the chair here, you could just slide the chair underneath your right thigh. So I'm kind of sitting my hip on the chair. And then from here, we'll float the arms forward and back. Now, if you're using the chair, you can also kind of actively push into the legs, imagining what would it take if you were going to stand off of the chair. And you might find some nice activation in the legs, maybe in the core. See if you can soften the shoulders away from the ears. Feel yourself rooted in the present, while also connected behind you to your past. And think of something out towards the horizon that you can feel grateful for, that you might look forward to. And then come back into the present moment right here, right now. We're going to soften the back hand down to the back of the thigh, flip the front palm, reach the front palm up towards the sky. We call this one Peaceful Warrior. On the next exhale, you can land the hands back into warrior two. Make any adjustments that you might need to feel comfortable. And then maybe you bring the forearm to the front thigh, or you can lean your hand on the front thigh, or you could bring your block down to outside the front thigh. Reach the top hand up towards the sky, or maybe even flip the palm down to reach it long, finding an extended side angle. You might send your gaze down towards the ground, or if it feels good for the neck, you could look up. And then we'll float it back into warrior two. Feel free to find a little dance coming in and out between warrior two, extended side angle, and peaceful warrior. You're just dancing your torso and your arms forward and back. Then we'll meet back up in warrior two. To come out of warrior two, you could start to step your feet together. If you're in the chair, you can come back to center, maybe taking a seat, either in a seated mountain pose or standing in mountain pose. And just take a moment to check in with your heartbeat one more time so you can plant your palms against your heart. Check in with the rhythm of your heartbeat. Drop your awareness like an anchor into your heart center and take a moment to observe your intention. Has it changed? What has the practice done to your intention? And then, so lucky that we have two sides. You can blink your eyes open. We'll get ready for that same sequence on the other side, and I'll show it standing or from a chair. So you might bring your blocks out in front. This time we'll bring the left foot forward, the right foot back. You can kind of come into a lunge. As you find your lunge, maybe you slide the chair underneath your left hip this time, reaching your right foot back, bending into that front leg, and then turning your torso towards the long edge of your mat. You can open your arms up, forward and back. Find a soft, gentle gaze over the front fingertips. Allow the shoulders to soften away from the ears. And then maybe you press into your feet to find that strong anchor of support. Feeling light and buoyant from your belly button up, coming into Virabhadrasana 2, Warrior 2. And then we'll find that similar dance, softening the back hand to the back leg, lifting the front palm up towards the sky, maybe gazing upward for peaceful warrior. Exhaling for warrior two. Inhaling, finding your version of extended side angle, maybe with the block, or you can bring your forearm to your thigh, reach your hand up towards the sky, or maybe past the ear, and then go ahead and float in between these two shapes at your own pace. Or actually, these are really three shapes, aren't they? Finding your own unique rhythm, not stealing from yourself by comparing yourself to others, being true and honest with what serves you best today. And when you feel complete from front to back, we'll return to our warrior two. You can start to shimmy your feet together, land your hands, come back to either a seated mountain pose or standing mountain pose, Tadasana. Take a moment to close down the eyes and then check in with the rhythm of your heartbeat. Maybe it feels a little quicker. When you're ready, we'll blink the eyes open, and then we're going to come into a downward facing dog. So you can circle sweep your arms up and overhead. Exhale to swan dive forward, leading with your heart. Inhale for halfway lift, and then exhale to forward fold. I'm just going to move my chair out in front to demonstrate the chair dog. So this would be a downward dog with the chair. You can walk your feet back, lengthen through your spine, reaching your sit bones towards the back wall or maybe the corner of the wall and the ceiling. And then you might pedal your heels or sashay your hips a little bit side to side. From here, we're going to be coming onto the floor, onto our belly. So if you're using the chair, you can use the chair to help you get down. I'm going to walk my left foot up towards the chair, step my right foot back, come onto the ball of the foot, and then lower softly the knee down. So however would feel good for you to get down onto the ground. I wanted to give you the option of a little bit of strengthening on our way down to our mats with a forearm plank. So you can bring your forearms to the ground, walk your knees back, and then allow your belly button to hover over the earth, kind of tucking your tailbone. You can stay right here, or you could tuck your toes under and lift one knee or both knees. Maybe you try one at a time. And whenever you feel done with that, go ahead and soften onto your belly, untuck your toes, flip the tops of your feet onto the mat, and then we'll stack the palms, or you could stack fists and lower your forehead down to rest. And we call this one crocodile pose, Makrasana. Take a moment to take some nice deep breaths here. Imagine filling up the back of your body with breath. Softening all of your effort. It might feel good to bend the knees and allow the heels to gently sway from side to side. Massaging the front of the thighs, maybe the belly. When you're ready, you can soften the feet back down. We're going to take a little twist here, or actually like not really a twist, sorry, more of like a shoulder opener. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring the left hand out to the side, bring the right hand underneath the shoulder, and I like this with a block for a pillow for underneath my temple. So you can start to creep the left fingertips to the left as you roll onto your left side any amount. You can slide that block right underneath your temple. Maybe you stack the legs here just to find a bit of opening through the front of the chest, the shoulder, the pecs. You might leave the legs stacked, or if you felt like you could go or wanted to try going a little further, You could bend your top knee and maybe you touch the toes behind you or plant the foot. If that feels like too much sensation, then back off from that and keep the legs stacked. Take one more nice deep breath here, and then we'll roll back onto the belly with your next exhale. You can stack the palms or even bring your forehead to a block. And just take a moment to soften, noticing the subtle differences from left to right. And then we get to do that on the other side, so we can extend the right hand directly out from beside you. So it's like in a letter T. You can stamp the left hand underneath the shoulder and then start to creep the left fingertips behind you as you roll onto the right side, leaving the legs stacked or bending that top knee, touching the toes behind you. Just finding a nice gentle opening through the shoulder, the chest. And if you want to not have this be so intense, maybe you just keep yourself leaning a little bit forward. So you can go as far as feels good to you, being gentle and kind with your shoulder, using the block for support underneath your temple if that feels good. Let's take one more nice deep breath here. Whenever you feel ready, you can roll back onto the belly. You might stack your palms once more, returning to Krasana crocodile pose. We'll take one more nice deep breath here. And then let's go ahead and plant the palms underneath the shoulders, press up through tabletop, and then you might find a child's pose. So bringing the big toes to touch, open the knees out wide, sink the hips back. Now, I think I mentioned this in a previous class, but you might take a bolster for supported child's pose. So what this could look like is with one or two blocks, I'm staggering the blocks, so one's on the low setting, one's on the medium setting, and then you could place a bolster over the top, and then maybe you bring one ear to rest on the bolster. If you have the blocks staggered, you might even be able to hug the bolster with your hands in between the blocks. Take a few nice deep breaths if you're using a supported child's pose to rest one ear. And then after a few rounds of breath, you can lift the head and rest the other ear. If you're doing sort of a more traditional child's pose without the support of the blocks, you can either bring your hands out in front, lengthening through your arms, resting your forehead on the earth. If it doesn't quite make it, feel free to stack up your palms to rest your forehead. Take a nice sigh out through the mouth and imagine any tension that's living in the body. It's just like little drops of water, imagining your back, just like the smooth surface of a duck's back. Allow those little water droplets to well up and fall down. If you'd like to try a little bit of a side bend here, we can walk the hands over to the left. You might bring your left forearm down so you can rest your forehead on your forearm and then reach your right hand across in a diagonal towards the left side of your mat. And then imagine that C curve from your fingertips along your right side body down towards your hip. Take a nice soothing breath here. And then we'll get ready for the other side, walking the hands over towards the right. You can bring a little bend to your right forearm, make it into a pillow to rest your forehead, and then reach your left fingertips over to the right to find a diagonal, maybe a nice C curve along your left side body from your fingertips all the way down to your armpit, from your armpit all the way down to your hip. Maybe that pressure of your forehead resting against your forearm might feel nice and kind of like a gentle massage against your forearm. Take one more nice deep breath here, and then we'll meet back up in center. You can walk yourself back to center. When you feel ready, we'll come up into a tabletop position. And I wanted to walk you through the idea of pigeon pose. So I think in a previous class we did figure 4, which is lying on your back. I'll just show the figure 4 because sometimes people like this one a little bit better. And then I'm going to walk you through pigeon if you'd like to give that a try. So for figure 4, I like to bring myself to the support of some kind of furniture or wall space, and then come to lying on your back. Bring your feet up to the support, and you can extend your right leg long, bring your left ankle onto your right thigh, and then draw the shape into the body. So this would be figure 4 on your back, and then you'll go ahead and switch sides when you feel ready. So one side, second side, whatever feels good for you. So if you want to try the pigeon pose, what I'm going to suggest is either a pillow or a blanket. I'm going to use a pillow since I have it right here, but you could also roll up a blanket, and you could use it off to the side just for underneath your hip, or you can bring it to the center of your mat and have it underneath both hips. So to set up to come into pigeon, I'm going to use my blocks on the medium setting underneath my hands, and then come into a downward facing dog. So to do that, I'll tuck the toes under, lift the hips up and back, and find your downward facing dog. Maybe take a moment to pedal the heels or sashay the hips a little side to side. Now, if you find that that pillow is in the way, you could just slide it out of the way. And then what we're going to do is bring the left knee towards the, and I actually started on the right. Okay, I'm bringing my right knee towards my right wrist and then shimmying so that the pillow is resting underneath my hips. And you can have this foot kind of back towards your left knee, or you can bring it up further depending on how that feels. And you might start out in an upright pigeon, and then whenever you feel comfortable, you can sort of fold over that front leg, bringing your forearms onto blocks or onto the earth, wherever feels comfortable for you. And if pigeon is not the pose for you, I suggest that figure 4 that I had started class with. If you start upright, you might feel a nice stretch through the front of your left hip. And just finding whatever supports are going to serve you best. If you're not using blocks and you want to come to lie down in pigeon, this is where we also can use the idea of the stack fists. So you can stack the fists and make a little pillow to rest underneath your forehead. See if you can soften your breath. And maybe notice what it would look like for gratitude for your hips to overflow from your heart center, surrounding the hip joint. Let's take one more nice deep breath in this position. And then if you want, you can roll onto your right hip. Maybe you come off onto the ground, try some windshield wipers, and then we'll get ready to set up for the second side, for the left side. So maybe you come back the way you came. Maybe I'll demonstrate this time on this side what it would look like for the pillow to be just underneath the hip. So I can bring the pillow or blanket off to the left, come into downward facing dog, tucking the toes under, lifting the hips up and back. Feel free to take a moment here in your down dog to pedal the heels and maybe sashay the hips a little side to side. And then I'm going to step the left knee, bend the left knee, bring it towards the front wrist, slide the right leg back, and then I can take that pillow this time and just wedge it underneath my seat. Allow yourself to either stay upright for a few breaths, maybe breathing into the front of the right hip. And then whenever you feel ready, you can fold forward, maybe bringing your hands onto your forearms onto the blocks, or stacking your fists to rest your third eye center, your forehead. And if I had thought ahead to grab another bolster, can also be nice to bring a bolster underneath the front of your body too, just to especially have a nice big round one. And you can lay your torso on a bolster. Take some nice deep breaths, and with kindness and compassion, you might just notice subtle differences from left to right. Allow yourself to move at the pace of your own body and breath. So stay for as long as you'd like. When you feel the time is right, you can remove the wedge from underneath your seat. Swing your legs around so they're out in front now. And we'll take a few windshield wipers with the knees, swaying them from side to side. And then you can come out in front We'll hug the knees into the chest, roll onto the back, and we'll find happy baby pose. So you might bring your knees towards your armpits. You can keep your hands tucked behind your thighs, or maybe you reach up for your ankles. If you're grabbing hold of your ankles, can you give them a soft, gentle squeeze, a loving squeeze, and maybe rotate the feet? You could also grab hold of your feet and maybe you gently rock a little side to side. When you're ready, you can release your feet, bring them down to the ground, plant your feet on the mat, and you can walk your heels in towards your sit bones. Gently lift your hips, slide them over to the right, and then we'll allow the knees to stack over to the left, extending your arms into a letter T, finding a twist. You can turn your gaze over towards your right hand. If you feel like you want to deepen this twist, you can either stay where you are or maybe you extend your left leg long and you could bring like a pillow or a block or two blocks even underneath your right shin and knee. So this might deepen your twist here and just bring some support for underneath the leg. Find what twist feels right for you and your body and see if you can give yourself an opportunity to soften. It might feel good for the neck to turn the gaze over towards the right hand. Just continuing that spiral of your spine. Imagine yourself sinking into the surface of the ground that's holding you, molding to your shape. Go ahead and take one more nice deep breath in this twist. And then we'll roll onto the back, plant the feet on the earth, bring the hips back to neutral, and just take a moment to pause here. And then we're going to get ready for the other side. So you can press into your feet, gently lift the hips, slide them a little bit over to the left, allow the knees to stack over to the right, and then you can open your arms into a letter T and find a twist on the other side. Using whatever support you'd like to deepen your twist, maybe extending the right leg long, bringing the left knee, some support of a cushion or blocks, or staying right where you are. Perfect too. Imagine your breath is able to cascade down that curve in your spine. Can you imagine yourself with that beginner's mindset, tracing your spine as if you've never contemplated it before? It's the first time you've ever realized you have a spine. Start to notice it with wonder and awe. Take one more nice deep breath in your twist. And we'll roll on to the back when you feel ready, unwinding from your twist. And you can find your spine centered on the mat. So press into your feet, sort of lift your spine, lengthen your spine, and set it back down. And then we'll inhale, rainbow the arms up and overhead, float them past the ears, opening through the back of the chest or the back of the body, the upper back, maybe even the front of the chest. And then exhale, lower the hands back down towards the hips. You can press your palms next to your hips, press into the heels, and we'll inhale to lift the hips any amount to come into bridge. You can use the strength of your glutes to lift you up, and then exhale, roll the spine back down gently. Go ahead and take a few more rounds, alternating between your arms, lifting up, reaching them past the ears, exhaling to lower them back down, and then inhaling to lift up into bridge. So follow the pace of your own breath. A few more rounds like this. And the next time you lift up into a bridge, you have two choices. You can either stay in an active bridge. Maybe you shimmy the shoulders underneath you, interlacing the hands behind you, or you can come into a soft, gentle inversion. You might take a block or a pillow or blanket, slide it underneath your sacrum, and you can either stay here in this gentle inversion of your bridge, or you could reach your feet up towards the sky. Maybe once more gently, softly gazing at your feet, practicing gratitude, awe, and wonder at your feet. You could stay there for a few rounds of breath or land the feet once more, coming into this gentle inversion. When you're ready, go ahead and land your feet, press your heels against the earth, lift the hips, slide the block out from underneath you, and then roll the spine back down one vertebrae at a time. We're going to get set up for our final resting pose. So if there's any last shapes that you'd like to make before you enter into your final rest, you can. If you have a blanket or bolster, especially if you're feeling chilly at all, you might take the bolster and rest it underneath your knees for support if you're laying long. And then you could also bring a blanket over the body. You might even rest a pillow over the eyes or something to cover the eyes to help yourself come into that rest. As you come into your final resting pose, corpse pose, Shavasana, allow your eyelids to close or your gaze to soften. Notice if you can smooth out your forehead, relaxing the hinge of your jaw. Allow your shoulders to melt into the earth, almost like the palm of a hand resting against your back. Feel the gentle lift and support of the earth rising to meet you. We are captured in a culture where our very identity is tied up in our accomplishments. We wear all we have to do like a badge on our shirt for all to see. In this rush to get to the next thing, we have left no time for ourselves to digest and assimilate our lives. This may be our biggest theft of all. We need time to catch up with ourselves. We need time to chew and ponder and allow the experiences of our life to integrate within us. We need time to rest and to reflect and to contemplate. See if you can allow yourself this time, quiet, softness, and rest. Begin to deepen your breath. Allowing your awareness to come into your heart center. With each inhale, you might imagine your heart like a balloon expanding in all directions, increasing your capacity to give and to receive love from your heart center. Now notice the jewel of your intention. It's completely unique to your own imagination. With your inhale breath, imagine that jewel glowing brightly, filling your body with light. And allow your awareness to travel along the beams of light out into the universe. Take a moment to rest your awareness out in the stars. Give yourself an opportunity to practice awe and wonder. What an amazing gift it is to be here today, alive in this unique time and place. And then, like a feather floating to the earth, you can allow your awareness to float back into your body, inhabit your body. Imagine gratitude for this earthly form, this gift of a body. Start to breathe into your fingers and toes. You can start to find some movement, wiggling your fingers, wiggling your toes, gently rotating your wrists and your ankles. And then see about finding a long body stretch, reaching your arms past your ears. You can grow long. And then when you feel ready, go ahead and roll onto one side and maybe cradle your head on your hands or your upper arm. Find a fetal position. Take maybe 2 more rounds of breath here. And then when you feel ready, you can press yourself up into a seat. Invite your hands to meet at your heart center in a gesture of gratitude, Anjali Mudra. And then allow your head to begin to bow towards the wisdom of your loving heart. It's such an honor and a privilege to have this opportunity to guide you through your practice. So thank you all so much for being here with me today. Feel free to let me know if you have any thoughts or questions about class.